Good evening and welcome. Tonight we're going to continue our read through of the battles map by map. And as this loud car goes by, we're going to read about some battles fought by the Romans, in particular battles from the Punic Wars. So let's just dive right in. We're starting off with the Battle of Cape Ecnomus. Let's read about it. Fought in 256 BCE between the fleets of Carthage and the Roman Republic. Cape Ecnomus was one of the largest naval bases in history, with almost 700 ships and 300,000 men engaged. The Romans emerged victorious, winning overall command of the western Mediterranean Sea. In the mid-3rd century BCE, the North African city of Carthage ruled an empire in the western Mediterranean based on trade and naval power. Its ascendancy was challenged by the rising Roman Republic, which had won control of Italy through the strength of its army. In the First Punic War from 264 to 241 BCE, Carthage and Rome fought over Sicily, which had great strategic and economic value. Realizing that superiority on land would not suffice, the Romans built a navy almost from scratch. Knowing that they would never match Carthaginian seamanship, they packed their ships with soldiers, devising a spiked wooden drawbridge known as a corvus to grapple and board enemy vessels. In 256 BCE, with the war on Sicily stalemated, the Romans sent an army by sea to invade North Africa and attack Carthage. Attempting to block this invasion force off Cape Ecnomus, the Carthaginians suffered a crushing defeat. Although the invasion of North Africa was a failure, the Romans had won naval superiority and, as a result, were eventually able to win control of Sicily. Let's check out the little key. Battle for the Mediterranean. That's where our battle's being fought, just off Sicily right there. At Ecnomus, the Carthaginians deployed all available naval resources to intercept the Roman force. Their defeat shifted the balance of regional power to Rome. So the Romans are going to be red for the lead squadrons, pink for the triarii, which I think we're going to read about in the next box, and then this kind of maroon color for the transports. The Carthaginians are going to be this like green, I guess, really dark, pretty green. But anyway, those are going to be our key colors. Let's read about some of their naval tactics. Here we go. Most warships of the Roman navy were cumbersome quinquiremes with 3 banks of oars, requiring a crew of 300 oarsmen. Armed with catapults hurling rocks or darts, each vessel carried more than 100 soldiers, whose objective was to board and capture enemy ships. The Carthaginians, better seamen in lighter quinquiremes, maneuvered to sink their opponents with the long rams at their prows. Interesting. So, the invasion force sets out. The Roman fleet sailed from Ostia, near Rome, and embarked soldiers and horses at Vintius, Licata, commanded by consuls Manlius Vulso and Attilius Regulus. The invasion force then set off westward along the Sicilian coast. The Carthaginian war fleet, commanded by Hamilcar and Hanno, and roughly equal in number to the Romans, formed in a line blocking their path. So the Romans, obviously coming near Rome, they're marching down, marching down. Oh no, not marching down. They're sailing down, and their ships sailing all the way around here in Sicily. Now, here on Sicily, the Roman holdings are purple, the Carthaginians are green, and here are the Syracuse. In Syracuse, of course. So, meanwhile, the Carthaginians are sailing to their spot here and coming around, looking for some Romans. And then they meet here, ready to battle. Imagine those ships marching down the sea, right? Alright, so here's our first stage of the battle. See, battle joined. The Carthaginians adopted aggressive tactics, trying to isolate sections of the Roman fleet, which was encumbered with transport vessels. However, the separated Roman squadrons resisted resolutely under attack. So, part 1, Carthaginian trap. Roman ships in a wedge formation rode for the center of the Carthaginian line, which had been left deliberately weak to tempt an attack. As Hamilcar withdrew his center, simulating flight, the Roman lead squadrons were drawn into a pursuit that separated them from the slower vessels to their rear. Hamilcar gave the order for his ships to turn and fight, initiating a desperate melee. So here you can see the main squadrons of Vulso and Regulus, and they see the Carthaginians here led by Hamilcar. So they're rushing in. It says the two leading Roman squadrons created a wedge formation. They're going choo, choo, choo. So here are the Carthaginians, and they're, retreating, right? With the Romans committed to pursuit, the Carthaginians turn to face their enemy. They go pew, bah, pew, bah. They go, you thought we were running away. Pew. So they've trapped him in a sense. Let's see what happens. The Roman fleet under attack. The advance of the Roman lead squadron left their middle and rear squadrons exposed to attack by the warships on the wings of the Carthaginian line. The left wing swung in to strike against the squadron towing the horse transports, while the galleys under Hanno sprang forward to engage the reserve squadron or triarii. In this way, 3 separate fiercely fought actions took place at the front, center, and rear. So while this is going on, the left wing Carthaginian ships comes after the transports. The 3rd squadron of the Roman fleet has the task of towing horse transports, attacking this squadron right here. And then over here is Hanno. The fastest Carthaginian ships are positioned on the right of their line under Hamilcar's colleague Hanno, and they're coming up to the reserve squadron. A reserve squadron known as the triarii is positioned at the rear of the Roman fleet. So we have this battle going on. They turned around to fight this wedge formation. We have this battle attacking the horse transports, and this battle attacking the rear squadron. How are the Romans going to get out of this one? Let's find out. Let's see what happens next. The Romans fight back. The Roman lead squadrons won the upper hand in the melee provoked by Hamilcar's trap, as the warships in the center of the Carthaginian line scattered in flight. Regulus and Vulso were able to turn their ships to assist the hard-pressed squadrons behind them. The transport squadron forced back toward the Sicilian shore, and the triarii battered by the ramming attacks of Hanno's skillfully rowed galleys. So, this battle is won by the Romans, and the Carthaginians flee for reals. It says the Carthaginian center scatters after suffering heavy losses. The Romans' plan worked for their brand new naval squad, right? Interesting how that happened. Then the transport squadron is coming back to the Sicilian shore. It says, trapped against the Sicilian shore, the Roman 3rd Squadron adopts a defensive formation with prows toward the enemy. So the left wing of the Carthaginians is attacking the transports. So with this battle one, this squadron goes up to assist. It says Fulso's warships rescue the Roman Third Squadron that had been hemmed in against the shore. Meanwhile, over here, the horse transports, right? No, over here. What happened to the horse transports? The towed horse transports are abandoned by the Roman warships and need to take care of their own defense. Sorry, horses. So on this side, the reserve squadron being attacked by Hanno. This squad, led by Regulus, comes in to fight back and to protect the other squadron. Regulus's squadron aids the Triarii to defeat Hanno's ships, some of which are boarded and captured. A Roman victory. Trapped between the Romans they were attacking and the lead squadrons under Regulus and Fulso returning from the center, the Punic fleet suffered heavy losses. In total, 64 Carthaginian warships were captured and 30 sunk, while the Romans lost 24 vessels. As the Carthaginians scattered, the Roman fleet returned to port for repair to resume the invasion later. However, they later suffered heavy losses in storms. Goodness. Turning to this little box up here, it says Carthage defeated. The Carthaginians proved inferior to the Romans when fighting at close range. After the warships in their center had been chased from the battle, their remaining wing squadrons, heavily outnumbered, collapsed under concentrated pressure. And over here we can see some of these Roman ships. The Romans' tactics and the use of the corvus or boarding bridge to capture enemy vessels gave them victory despite a lack of experience in naval warfare. And that was that battle. The Romans were victorious. Let's look at another very, very famous battle. The Battle of Cannae. First, let's read about it. At the start of the Second Punic War, which is 218 to 201 BCE, Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca led an army across the Alps to invade the territory of the Roman Republic. His invasion culminated in the annihilation of a Roman army at Cannae in 216 BCE, a masterpiece of battlefield tactics. Carthage's defeat in the First Punic War left the Roman Republic in control of Italy and Sicily. Carthage remained a major power in North Africa and southern Spain. In 221 BCE, 26-year-old Hannibal took command of the Carthaginian army in Spain and sought to avenge the defeat of his father Hamilcar in the First Punic War. In 219 BCE, Hannibal captured the Spanish city Saguntum, with which Rome had an alliance, prompting Rome to declare war. Hannibal led an invasion of Roman-ruled Italy and won several battles culminating at Cannae, but did not risk attacking Rome itself. Led by consuls including Fabius Maximus, the Romans refused to make peace and conducted a war of attrition, denying Hannibal any further battlefield triumphs. The Carthaginians remained in Italy for 15 years without a decisive battle. In 204 BCE, a Roman invasion of North Africa forced the Carthaginians to recall Hannibal's army. Their defeat at Zama in 202 BCE forced Carthage into peace. Hannibal took his life in exile in 128 BCE, and Carthage was destroyed by the Romans after the Third Punic War in 149 to 146 BCE. So let's set the stage here and see Hannibal's path to Cannae. Hannibal led his force on a march to Italy through hostile territory. He defeated Roman forces at the Trebia River and at Lake Trasimene. When he occupied a supply base at Cannae, Rome sent a large army to attack him. So here is Carthage. All the pink is Carthaginian territory as of 218 BCE. So Hannibal starts off here at New Carthage in what's now Spain in spring 218 BCE. Hannibal sets out at the head of 90,000 infantry and 12,000 cavalry. He heads up to Saguntum, takes that, travels with all his whirl of hints. But what's happening here at Massilia in the summer of 218 BCE? A Roman force lands at Massilia but fails to intercept the Carthaginian army because they're up in the mountains, crossing the Alps, heading to Trebia. There's a battle. December 218 BCE, Hannibal destroys a Roman force sent to counter his invasion of Italy. Nice try, but Hannibal's still on the march. Battle. He's in Italy now. He's in the Roman territory, and that's in green. He's marching. And we have a battle right here. On June 21st, 217 BCE, having beaten the Romans at Lake Ticinus to the north the previous year, Hannibal ambushes and destroys a Roman army at Lake Trasmi. And he's marching through the countryside, heading to the coast, maybe attacking Rome. No, he changes his mind. It's down to Cannae right here. Marching all around. So let's check out the key here for the battle. You can see where it takes place there in Italy. Double envelopment. Military historians consider the Battle of Cannae the classic example of a double envelopment, the tactic in which an army outflanks both wings of its enemy's position, creating an inescapable trap. So the Carthaginians are in more of this red color. You can see that they have Celtic and Spanish infantry, Celtic and Spanish cavalry. They have Numidian cavalry and Libyans. They've picked up people all throughout their territory. Meanwhile, the Romans are in these bluish colors. You can see their infantry, their cavalry, and the allied cavalry is in a dark blue. So let's see where this battle begins. Deploying for battle, August 2nd, 216 BCE. The Roman and Carthaginian armies camped on a plain alongside the river Aufidus. Early on the morning of August 2nd, the Romans, commanded by the consuls Aemilius Paulus and Terentius Varro, crossed the river to form a battle line in the constrained space between the river and the hills to the south. Hannibal, accepting the challenge, followed suit. So we have their camps over here, right? The Romans are marching in, coming into formation, lining up, ready for battle. The Carthaginians go, sure, they march in. There's the city of Cannae, so they're out here. They're crossing over the river, and setting up to battle, ready to challenge the Romans. Let's see what happens next. Hannibal's Crescent. Hannibal's force was made up of soldiers from different parts of the Carthaginian Empire, including Celts, Spanish tribesmen, Numidians, and Libyans. While his cavalry was strong, his infantry was greatly outnumbered by the Romans. Hannibal arranged his infantry in a shallow crescent, hoping to tempt the massed Roman infantry to attack at its center, where he had deployed his Spanish and his more expendable Celtic foot soldiers. So here we can see the crescent that Hannibal formed. He said, everybody, let's get in formation. And created a crescent shape, whereas you can see the Romans are making straight lines here. Alright, the battle set. Let's get into it. Battle joined. After some initial skirmishes, the Roman infantry pressed forward. The Celtic and Spanish center drew back, drawing the Roman infantry with them, while the heavy Libyan infantry to the left and right held its ground. Meanwhile, Hasdrubal's horsemen got the upper hand over the Roman heavy cavalry on the left flank, putting them to flight. So the Romans are charging in. Front line, the infantry armies retreating. Pew, 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 pew. Pew, 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 pew. Pew, 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 pew. The Romans keep coming. Pew, pew, pew. And Libyans over here, like I said, holding their ground for now. We'll find out what happens to them in a second. What's the plan going to be? Romans trapped. The Roman infantry were surrounded on three sides as Hannibal's Libyan troops turned in against their flanks. As the Numidian horsemen on the right chased the Roman allied cavalry from the field, Hasdrubal's cavalry swung around to attack the Roman foot soldiers from the rear. The Roman infantry were destroyed, with few escaping. So, Hasdrubal's cavalry, did I mention? I think that was up there. Hasdrubal's cavalry rushes into this cavalry. Hanno's cavalry rushes into this cavalry. So these guys flee. Hasdrubal's heavy cavalry drives the Roman horsemen from the field, but refrains from pursuit. So they're galloping off. Galloping off. So what do they do while they're over here? They come around. The Carthaginian cavalry completes the envelopment of the Roman infantry. They're right here, ready to fight. The Libyans come in to fight. These soldiers are rushing in. Libyan troops attack the Roman infantry from both sides. And they are perfectly surrounded, right? You have these forces up here, these over here, ready to attack, just like the music outside is telling us. It's a big trap for the Romans. So, let's read a bit about how Hannibal was crossing the Alps. Hannibal's epic crossing of the Alps, accompanied by his infantry, cavalry, mules, and an estimated 37 elephants, allowed him to avoid hostile land and naval forces on his journey to attack the Roman Republic. And whenever we have elephants on this channel, we have to have Topple. Let me grab him over here. Make sure he's not too dusty. He's been sitting in the corner of my desk. Topple the elephant. He's ready. Boom, boom, boom. Marching through the Alps. Boom, 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 boom. Topple, let's listen to your ears real quick. I'm going to rub his ears up by the microphone. That's the sound of Hannibal marching over the Alps. Ready to attack the Romans. Thank you, Topple. Alright, let's look at the last battle. So we're skipping away from Tunisia and the Carthaginians. It's time for Julius Caesar to enter the arena at Alesia. The siege of Alesia in 52 BCE was the climax of Roman general Julius Caesar's campaign to conquer Gaul. Caesar encircled and destroyed an army of rebel Gallic tribesmen led by Vercingetorix, fighting off an attack by a relief force. As a result of Caesar's victory, Gaul fell under Roman domination for the following 500 years. Covering present-day France, Belgium, Switzerland, and neighboring areas, Gaul was home to a number of Celtic tribes. Beginning in 58 BCE, Julius Caesar conquered these tribes in a series of campaigns, but his brutal treatment of the defeated provoked discontent. In the winter of 53 to 52 BCE, Vercingetorix, leader of the Arverni tribe, won the support of other Gallic tribes for an uprising. Caesar alleviated his supply shortage by seizing the fortified town of Avaricum, but when he attacked the Arverni capital of Gergovia, he was repelled. Vercingetorix attacked Caesar's marching army, but his cavalry were beaten back. Vercingetorix harassed the retreating Romans, but was defeated when he committed to a full-scale attack. He withdrew to a strong defensive position at the hill settlement of Alesia in eastern France. Caesar knew, especially after Gergovia, that it would be foolish to assault the strong Gallic army in this hill position. Instead, he planned a siege to starve the Gauls. The legionaries enclosed Alesia in a 10-mile siege line of ditches and ramparts of lumber and earth. Before it was completed, Vercingetorix dispatched horsemen to seek aid from other Gallic tribal leaders. Anticipating a counterattack from the rear, Caesar had a second circle of fortifications built outside the first, so his troops were defended from both sides. With forces of up to 80,000 men, the Gauls were soon short of food. To save supplies, Vercingetorix ordered the elderly, women, and children to leave. Caesar refused to allow them through Roman lines, letting them starve to death between the armies. In late September, a huge Gallic relief force arrived outside Alesia. The Romans were outnumbered, but their fortifications allowed them to repel successive Gallic assaults. The battle ended in a desperate, all-out effort by the Gauls, which Caesar held off by inspiring his troops and sending his Germanic mercenary cavalry to attack from behind. The relief force was driven off, and Vercingetorix surrendered. What a siege! So detailed. Let's look at some of it in the final battle here. It says, the Gauls tried to lift the siege by coordinating a breakout attempt with an attack by the relief force outside. They identified a weak point in a Roman camp at the foot of Mount Rhea. Seeing the Gauls threatening this position, Caesar led a counterattack and ordered his Germanic cavalry to strike the Gauls from the rear. The relief army dispersed in disarray. So let's see if we can make sense of this chart. Here's Alesia, the hill that they're on. There's Vercingetorix. He is trapped. So this is a defensive trench built by the Romans. And these are all the Roman siege lines all around. All around. They've got camps up here. That's where Caesar's camped. Camps all around. Boom, 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 boom. So that the relief force, their camp is here. They're coming in here, and they're coming around Mount Rhea to try to help out Vercingetorix inside. So the Romans are in the greenish color. So they're going to come around between their defensive lines up to the weak spot over here. And their cavalry is coming around over here to fight the Gallic forces. To stop Vercingetorix to get any help. Quite a battle. And Caesar, of course, won. Vercingetorix surrendered. Quite an effort, isn't it? Caesar, Julius Caesar never did anything halfway, did he? He did everything at 100%, didn't he? So this is a big diagram of the siege. This is like an ancient version of this map. It says, this 18th century map shows an anachronistically formal portrayal of the failed attack on Caesar's marching army. The Gauls withdrew to Alesia, where they were besieged by Caesar's army. So up in this corner up here, you can see the Germanic cavalry. It talks about it down here. It says Caesar made effective use of his Germanic horsemen during the campaign. Here they prepared to counterattack the Gallic cavalry. So a G right there for the Germanic army. Then we're going to look in here. Let's see what it says. The defensive formation. Caesar's army is shown in a defensive square with its baggage train at the center, ready to defend. And the Gauls fleeing. You can see it down here, rushing out. Following their defeat by the Romans, there we go, the Gallic cavalry fled back to their own lines, which is over here, from the looks of it. Vercingetorix. There's a little key down here. It looks like it's in French. It looks like it's in French. very interesting map. So before we go, we're going to read a little bit more about the Roman legions. Let's learn a little bit more. Ancient Rome created and sustained one of the world's greatest empires through the power and efficiency of its army. Formidable in battle, Roman legionnaires were also outstanding military engineers. Is it legionaries or legionaries? That makes sense. I was like legionaries? No, legionaries. The Roman army was divided into legions of about 5,000 legionaries, and from the 1st century BCE became a fully professional force. Its soldiers were mostly men with Roman citizenship who signed up for 20 years of active service. Legionaries tended to come from the poorer classes, attracted by regular pay and the prospect of a grant of farmland when they retired. A legionary could rise to the rank of centurion and command 80 legionaries, or a century. Each legion consisted of 10 cohorts, each made up of 6 centuries. Legions are also supported by auxiliaries without Roman citizenship, recruited from subjects of the empire. These non-citizens provided additional cavalry, supporting the legion's own 300 cavalry. Did you get all that? That was a lot of numbers. Skilled force. Roman legionaries excelled as disciplined foot soldiers, armed with 2 heavy javelins and a short sword, and well protected by a large shield, helmet, and cuirass. I have never seen this word in my life. I don't know what that is. They were trained to fight flexibly in a variety of formations, and used various torsion catapults from small scorpions to larger ballistae and one-armed onagers. I don't know what these words are. Let me know in the comments if you're more versed in ancient Roman battle terminology than I am. Legionaries were not unbeatable in battle, but they were especially vulnerable to mounted archers. But they were unmatched as engineers. Some of the siege works they built were remarkable in scale, including a spur and ramp to capture the mountain fortress of Masada in 73 CE. Legionaries also built most of the Roman road network, as well as some great frontier fortifications, such as Hadrian's Wall in Britain. And let's look at this, the testudo, this formation here. Named after the Latin word for tortoise, the testudo was a formation that Roman legionaries used when under attack by projectiles. Some of the men in the closely packed body raised their long shields to create a protective roof like a tortoise's shell, while others formed a shield wall at the front and sides. The testudo was especially useful when facing massed enemy archers, allowing legionaries to approach the enemy through an otherwise deadly hail of arrows. Big defensive shield. And then let's check this out. This looks like a big wall of some kind. Oh, it's Trajan's column. Very, very cool. So this is big, it's in Rome, right? I believe it's in Rome. I don't know why I'm doubting myself. I'm like 80% sure anyway. It says erected in Rome. There we go, in Rome. In 113 CE to celebrate Emperor Trajan's victories on the Danube, Trajan's column displays vivid images of life in the Roman army while on campaigns. Much of a legion's time was spent building walls, roads, and bridges. Now, that's a name that I've always read and never actually heard with my own ears. I should probably look it up, so I always assumed Trajan. I don't know if it's pronounced any other way, so let me know about that too if I've got that totally wrong. But check this out. You can see them building some walls. You can see it looks like these guys are in charge. And yeah, it looks like they're constructing and building and working very hard. So that's going to be it for tonight. When we come back to this book, we're going to look at a couple more Roman battles. We're going to look at Actium, more Julius Caesar. Ooh, we're going to see some Chinese battles as well. see where else we go. Obviously more Roman battles coming up, but anyway. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video relaxing and educational. Let's look at the column again. And I hope that you have a very good